I think like 4 or 5 minutes, and we can start. Okay. So I think this is everyone. Maybe not. Come on. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello. Yeah, the last bit is. Two more seconds. Okay. Hello, everyone. How many new people do we have today? 1, 2, 3. Okay, okay. Yeah, so today we'll talk about wireframing, so you might not need our Slack and etc. because you haven't joined our Slack, right? You don't have our projects, nothing. No. Okay. Yeah. So we will after the lecture, I can add you to our Slack. I can share our Git repository, etc. Yep. Okay. So today, wireframing. Let me just skip these. But before we start, we have our favorite part, right? We want to remind ourselves what we learned on the previous lesson. So let's actually start. Only a few questions, not much. So how to create a media query for a device where maximum screen size is 768. And actually, I'll open my code editor so you can tell me how to do that. Let me just get rid of all of that. Yeah. Tell me how to do that. So where's my, sorry. Again, I want to have a media query that will apply some stylings for the size that is less than 768. Okay, so add media.
No, I don't know. I know that that's cool.
Yep, next.
And I know that's a
screen. Okay, so what screen means? Almost. So it means that that will be applicable only for devices with screen, because you can have printer and you can have reader. So that means that we're selecting only screens. And okay, and yeah.
Parenthesis, max width. 768.
768 pixels.
Yes.
Yep. Correct. Yoo-hoo! First question. Next question. What types of media query do we have? Actually, I spoiled. Yeah. Screen printer and reader. Third one, how to move your element to right with float. Yeah. Float right. How to fix height for parent when you use float. You know that if you use float, our parent collapsing, right? So yeah, let's go back to our code and cd. Give me a second. I'll just want to navigate to my and open index front folder. Sorry. Examples. Open. Come on. Is it lesson 4? Lesson 3 probably, right? Is it lesson 3 today? Lesson 4. Right, lesson 4. So why do we have... Oh, yes. Sorry, my bad. So open cd. What was the folder? And index. Yeah, beautiful. And I want to get rid of my template. Yeah, so let's say we have div top. I know, main. Yeah, let's say top, and we have div with class nested. Yep. So if we define, so let's get rid of our media queries. So we have top height 100 pixels and background color to yellow. We have it. Yep. And actually we probably don't want to have height here, but we want to have height for our nested. Height and background color to an aqua. And maybe we want to add some padding here. Padding 20 pixels. Yeah. So if I float my element, let's say we define width with, I know, 200 pixels. Wait a second. We have 200 pixels, right? So we have height and width. This is our element. And we want to float it to the right. So we have float right. And our parent element collapsed. How to fix it? Which position? No. So this is for positioning. You're right about positioning. So if you have like position absolute, you want to have a position relative. Yeah, to relativity. Yeah. So the last page that you built had a lot of things like that. So how to fix it? How to fix the height? Do you remember that? Sorry? No. So we have overflow. Do you remember that? That you can use overflow to... Yep, exactly. So for your parent, you've set overflow auto, and now it will inherit the height of the child.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
How often do you come across floats? 'Cause
Float, never.
I've read that it's just old habit, never gets used anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that we're showing you this stuff, floating position, basically floating is legacy stuff. But you still have a lot of legacy platforms that you need to understand how they work. And some clients, some companies, they support like IE8, which doesn't support Flex, doesn't support Grid, and you can't use it. So you still need to know how to work with float. But yeah, you're right. That like 99% of your time you will work with Flex and potentially Grid. So Flex for sure. Yeah. So overflow auto. Awesome. Next up is how position sticky works. Can somebody explain it?
Any position on the page, and if you scroll down, for example, it sort of gets stuck at the top for a sticky header, for example.
Yep. Yeah, correct. So in other words, position sticky means that you define a position where you want to fix the element, where your element will change position to fixed. But during the normal flow, and when you not reach this area, your position will be relative. So you have relative, as usual, you're not moving from the normal element flow. But when you scroll to the certain position that you defined, this position becomes fixed. This is how it works. So it's stick on the certain position that you defined. Yeah? What position fixed does?
It keeps it in that position. So if you've got something at the top of the page and you scroll up and down, it's always going to stay there.
Yeah, correct. So it based on your viewport sites, not the element sites, but viewport sites. So if you have position fixed, as you explained, you can scroll through the whole page, and that will stay on the same position.
You see it a lot with it'd be just above the bottom right-hand corner. Do you want to chat?
Yeah, exactly. Icons like call us or contacts and actually chatbots, they have a like position fixed that you can see it all the time. It is on the page, even if you scroll. Okay. If you want to use position absolute, what do you need to set to the parent element? Relative. Yep. Why? Yeah. So basically you want to set to the parent, you want to set any position but non-static, which static is default value. And you want it because your absolute will work and based on the position of non-static element. So you want to change for the parent one, you can set, besides the relative, you can set absolute, fixed, etc. But not static. So relative is like the safe zone, because if you don't want to move your parent, you want to stay, that element should stay on the same position, but you want to position absolute some element inside, so you set to the element, the parent element, position relative. And actually, let me show you what I try to explain it here. I have a feeling of deja vu because I explained it to the previous cohort, and now I'm talking about that, and like, have I talked about that already or not? So yeah, let's start from, we have div. Have we talked about emmet or no? Okay, this is a good thing. We will talk about that. So yeah, we have div with class, so I don't show it to you for now. Top, we have div with class middle, and we have div with class I don't know, top, bottom, let's say bottom, and here we have like span with test. And for the top one, let me just right. So here we have our top height, 300, let's say 500 pixels. Width 500 pixels. And we want to have middle. Middle. And we have 100% of the parent one. We might want to have some padding 20 pixels, or maybe even 30 pixels. Here we also want to have padding. We want to set some background color so we can see it. Background color, aqua, background color, yellow, and the bottom one is bottom green. Yep. So we have, actually, let me adjust padding, because padding should be slightly more than middle, 60 pixels. So yes, and the color font size, sorry. Color, I just changed the color to white so you can read it. Maybe font size to 3M. This is our element, right? So we want to position this element to that corner. And what you can do is just, in our case, use span selector and position absolute, and top 0 and left 0. So it doesn't work as we expect, right? That is why, because it's looking for the closest non-static element, and all of them are static, and the top element is body, so it just aligned to body. But, actually, to be more explicit here, margin, I set margin to top, like 50 pixels. So, as you can see, it just sticks to the body. It's not here. If I set, let's say, the closest one for now will be top, so our aqua element. So position relative. So I don't want to remove it from normal workflow element flow. I just want to have it keep it on the same position, but want to align my text to the top of the top left of the top one of this one, the blue one. So if I refresh, now we aligned to this section, right? So now this element is the closest non-static. But we can remove our position relative from top and put to the middle. And if I refresh, we align to the yellow one. And basically the initial idea was to align to the bottom one. So this is how positioning works in HTML and CSS. Okay. Why do we use normalizers? Simple one. So, okay, what is normalizers? Yeah, correct. So basically, normalizers, is like a one file that somebody wrote for you that you can add. This is CSS file. You add into your project, and you have consistent styles, default styles, all across all your browsers. Internet Explorer, Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, whatever. And from that point, you can start and write your CSS. So normalizers. So we use it to have consistency for default, like font size, some margins, etc. Yep. Okay. finally, so try to memorize everything, because on the next lesson, we will start from the same point, but with questions to this session. Wireframing. So what is the point of wireframing? You might struggle. Actually, tell me how many times you refactor your HTML when you was working on our projects. Was it on the first time, so you just started your project and never refactor it? That was absolutely correct. You haven't created like, oh, I forgot about extra div, or I need an extra wrapper, or whatever. Yeah? I mean, this is the issue for everyone. That is why we want to talk about wireframing and why it's important, how it can improve your workflow and save your time and mental health. So yeah, wireframing is basically creating like frames, boxes before. So that came from like a design world, where they start their project starts from wireframing. So they don't do any design; they just draw boxes and like manual structure, like basic structure for the page. And for us as a developers, we take the design and convert it back to boxes, because basically we convert in their design into boxes in HTML, right? Because for HTML everything is a box, so we need to frame everything. So yeah, establish a schema. This is the whole idea behind the wireframing. This is a few examples. So first one, you just draw in boxes, as I just said. Another way. And simple tool which I want to introduce is, it is free. So wireframe CC, you can draw wireframes very quickly and easy. So like create one, maybe some aside. Here we want to have one more element, etc. So you can quickly create wireframes for your project. Wireframe CC, super easy and nice. Yeah, so I already asked that about refactoring, and here, this is your typical workflow. Just memorize it and use it every single time you try to build a website. Take a design, then frame it. Only after that, start writing your HTML and CSS. Only after that. I'll explain in a second why it's that important. So a few more tools. We have Photoshop, Sketch, Figma. Figma is free, Sketch is not. So you can have a few more online. And of course, don't forget about paper, pencil and paper. You can be super high-techy and use not pencil, but pen. So yeah. So how to do that? For myself, I use different colors for each layer, for each level of elements. So we have a typical page. And here, we have two main elements, is navigation. And basically the sibling for this navigation is this section, which is, I don't know, main, content, anything. Inside navigation, so they both are red boxes, so you can easily read it. So they are siblings. Inside this one, I have two more boxes, which is, for example, logo wrapper, which is a div, and some navigation UL, right? Typical UL. And here we have, again, one section for the like a header, and another one we are grouping all our cards. And inside this element, we're creating 3 cards. And inside this, so each card, again, different color, so blue. And here we have 2 more elements inside for image and for some details. And inside this one, we have 2 more groups which is some, I don't know, header again and more details or some descriptions, etc. Yeah, first thing is wrap every single image on your page into a separate div. So if you have an image, you want to wrap it into the div, any image. If you want to create a separate div for this image. So every single time. And this is because on some point, you will decide to refactor the image. You will decide to resize this image, reposition it. If you have a wrapper for it, you can isolate the positioning, and with position absolute and relative, you can position image inside without affecting the whole layout. I'll show you an example in a second. Next rule is group similar types of elements. So if you have like a card, like we had here, you want to group them, right? Because they are similar. So again, you just create a separate div, and you have card on in this a few cards inside the cards container. Next thing is divide visually. So let's say, let me go back to my example. I probably need to add a few more slides between them. So if you want to have some extra division here, extra space, you want to wrap that into the div, and you can play with the margin without aligning each separately. So we have here we have like 3 elements. One element, second element, and third element. Like 3 anchors, let's say. So to not, you don't want to position it like margin top for each. You just want to wrap them into one container and set margin top to this container. And you can position it very easily. You can move it top and bottom, left and right. Yeah, I'll add a few more slides between that actually. And change flow direction. That means that when you change again, sorry for that, but if you want to, here we have a vertical flow from top to bottom, all our elements. First element, second element, here we have one more here, next one, but on that moment we just changing the flow. So that was horizontal, vertical, and now we're changing the flow to horizontal. On that case, you also want to have an extra wrapper, because you can easily, you will find it very useful when we get to the flex box, because there you can just change the flow, change the direction, align it vertically, horizontally, whatever you want. And you need to have that extra container, so you have that kind of local scope for yourself. And you can align it inside all elements that you have. Is it clear? Any questions?
So how many div boxes would you have that 3 boxes there?
So let's say for this section.
Yeah.
So here the green one is one div. The next green one is second div. Inside this div, I have 3 more divs for each card. Inside each div, I have one div for this one div for that section. Inside this one, I have one more div for this group and one more div for this one. So you just grouping all these elements. And now you can nicely position anything in any, you can put it on any place, because everything is grouped. So you don't need to manually move each element separately. Divide visually, change flow. Emmet. This is better. Trust me. So the idea behind the emmet is to have a shortcut to create your layouts. And why? So I want to show you an example how it's super nice and how quickly you can create. So I'm just curious, examples, bonus. Okay, yeah. So let me actually create a navigation So let's say I want to show you on a real example. So here we have a navigation, right? Let's create a navigation with Emmet. Before Emmet, people use stones. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to create a top navigation, you can probably create nav tag, right? Inside navigation, you have a div with class, probably a logo wrapper. It's super slow, right? But with Emmet, what we can do, so I want to have a navigation. Inside my navigation, I want to have, and actually that is why we want to have to do wireframes before you start writing your HTML, because you will see the whole structure. So inside I have two elements, right? Two groups. So first group plus second group. Inside the first group, I have a div with class image wrapper, and inside this image wrapper, I have an image, right? Which probably with alt tag logo. On the second group, I have UL, which is nav list, and there I have allies, right? Let's say 4 allies. So item $, and I have 4 allies. Yep. So inside I have a navigation. Inside navigation I have one group, which is div with class image wrapper, and inside I have image, and the alt tag is logo. I don't have a source tag. I'm not mentioning source tag because I don't know it. I need to check the source, but you can also add source here. And as a sibling of this div, so plus, I have UL, which is with class navigation list, and allies inside. Yeah? And maybe, because it should be clickable, I want to add anchor actually, right? And that I want to multiply my allies with anchors. So I'm wrapping because I'm multiplying this section. And if I hit tab, I have everything. This is Emmet. And actually, because you have the whole structure, you've wireframed the whole layout, you can write the long string for the whole section. Hit tab, and you have the whole layout with some dummy data here. You might add some anchors inside. You might add some extra attributes, etc. And it, as you can see, it generates automatically 1, 2, 3, 4 for me because I used $. So if you use $sign and multiplying, it will just generate you numbers automatically. No, so this is like a tool basically. You have VS Code, right? You might check for Emmet, E-M-M-E-T. Because the only thing that you might need to change settings in your VS Code. Let me actually check. So Emmet. Here, this one. So trigger expansion on tab. You want to tick this box because your tab will not work if you, by default, it is unticked. So yeah, just do that. Sorry?
Still put source, can't you, in the image?
Yeah, sure. So I mean,
everything like you would normally do.
yeah. So now you hit tab, and now you have already source actually because this is a default syntax. So that will know. And here you have href. We didn't mention that as well. You can add any attributes now.
Basically just populates it.
Yeah. So you can adjust it after. But it will help you. If you have a wireframe, you can spend 10 minutes to build the whole section. And you like 99% that you will never refactor it. Because you've wireframed everything. And you know your structure. So there shouldn't be a point where you say, I need one more extra div. Because you already draw it. And with Emmet, you spend a few minutes, you build the whole layout, and you just working with CSS.
What do the, so if you go back to the edit example, what are, so I'm guessing that the square brackets are what you want.
This is attributes. Square brackets for attributes.
And the curly brackets?
For content inside.
Sure.
Yeah. It looks like
And are those chevrons kind of similar to, God, what language is it? But it's basically saying go here, go here, go.
yeah. So this one.
Yeah.
That means that more symbol is, but it basically that means that it is all of that is inside this element.
Sure.
And here we have image inside this div.
How sure what I was thinking? You normally point it within.
Yeah, maybe. So because, so that is what I use parentheses because I want to group them, and I'm just saying that these two are siblings.
It's first and last bracket is one element plus.
Another group.
Is another
Yeah,
element or
yeah.
whatever it might be.
So if you have like a very simple structure, like you have, I don't know, UL plus, or let's say div 1 with class 1 plus div with class 2, you can hit tab and have two divs. But because I have nested elements, let's say I have UL, let's say I have UL with li multiplies 3, right? So it will think that inside my UL, actually, give a sec. So if I, here. So I have UL, inside I have 3 LIs. So now it will take it as inside my UL, I have 3 LIs and I have div, right? That is why if I have that structure, I want to group them like that. That this is isolated section.
Because of the extra.
Parentheses. So here, let me actually show you. So we have UL 3 LIs plus div. See, this is a sibling for li. But if I wrap them and say that these two are siblings, it is outside. That is why wireframing is so important. Because if you know, of course, if you don't use Emmet and you don't know about such tool, you might think that I'm just wasting my time on wireframing because I just do extra work. It still helps you to save your time on creating extra wrappers and refactoring, but not a big difference. But with Emmet, you can just quickly build the whole layout. And you basically, you spend like 15 minutes for the whole page structure, and then you just go to your CSS and start styling it.
Allows you to have a lot more time on the stuff that's
Actually moving, yes. Because HTML is quick. So you just need to have a proper layout. And actually, I found that I might mention that before, again, deja vu thing. But the story is that when I was working here in Flatiron as an instructor, a lot of students came to me with question like, can you help me with my CSS? But the real problem was in wrong HTML structure, because they didn't group elements properly, they didn't put them on the right place, and they tried to apply CSS, and this is mess and horrible thing even for me with my experience, because you can't put your elements on the right position if you haven't wrapped it into correct, basically into div, and you haven't grouped them into separate containers. So 99% that was issue with CSS. And actually, every time when we sit and draw all like wireframes, they refactor the HTML. After that, with the new HTML structure, they can handle CSS on their own. So it's not about CSS, it's about proper HTML structure. That is why actually I found that this course might be super useful even for experienced developers, because people normally don't care about HTML is simple, I'll spend 10 minutes on that and move to JavaScript, React, whatever. But yeah, the people just doesn't know how to write simple HTML structures.
A tool that turns wireframes straight into HTML?
No, unfortunately. We truly believe in AI, but for now, not. We don't have it.
You can get stuff where you can drag and drop it, can't you?
So we have,
But they're quite
It's like website
expensive.
builders.
yeah, we have builders, we have some design tools. They say, they basically advertising that, hey, you can design stuff in our tool and just export HTML, CSS. No. I mean, yes, but you will spend next 2-3 weeks to refactor it and fix all bugs. So yeah, don't even try, because it just wasting of your time. Don't do that. Okay, so let me just move to our kitten. So I'm not sure. They might be just comparable with Emmet. So yeah, here we have docs, and you can go to official website and read how to install for your code editor, and like read documentation, syntax, etc. As usual, we will share it on our Slack after this lesson. And yes, there is a great. Remember we had different games for to practice CSS, etc. Selectors. Here we have great game, Can't Unsee. This is awesome game. Can't unsee. So here the task is to find what is wrong with the website, with the design. So basically you have two examples, and you've selected which one is wrong, which one has some issue or issues. Okay, right one, yeah? Okay, so where's the press, hold, compare, to shift, not compare. Okay, next. Oh yeah, so you're selecting the correct one. Okay, yeah, next. Which one is correct? Left? Left? Why?
Because the other one's too long.
Yeah, correct. Okay. I mean, maybe not. Yeah, correct. Okay, let's start. Enable camera. Start chatting. What the? Select the design. The most. Oh yeah, yeah. This is design. So which one is correct?
Left.
This one. Why?
I would say the one on the right is correct because it's all in enable camera and the icon are all in line.
Okay.
The ones that have signal with the rest of the
Yeah. Okay. Yoo-hoo! Next one. Probably some ad. Yeah. Again. Obvious, right? Yoo-hoo! Yeah. This one. And you probably got that complexity will grow on each level.
Right. Left.
This one. Why?
It's consistent with the font.
Okay. Yep. So you can have a great evening, right? The idea is, because you probably saw that a lot of job ads, they require you to have like pixel perfect eyes, etc. And this is actually good practice to learn how to care about pixels, how to care about that tiny difference that's even hard to see. And actually for working as a front-end developer, and not just front-end developer, as a like a architect, JavaScript architect, but UI developer, and my main job is UI developer now. I can see easily that here we have an issue with 1 pixel vertical alignment, and when I start like inspecting the element, like see so this is a problem. And that came with practice, because like last 3 years I spent as a UI developer. I can notice such things, and you will learn this, you will gain the same skill with time. Just care about that. Okay. Yeah, leave. I'll share our slides so you can play at home. And actually they have scores, so you can publish your score in our Slack channel when you finish this game. So we will have a competition. Woohoo! Okay. Yeah. So mini project. Today we have basically an hour to build something together, which is great. So yeah, the whole idea is that to show you why wireframe is important, to show you what is Emmet, and now we can practice how to do wireframes and how to write some HTML with Emmet. Okay, yeah, almost. Too soon. Let me actually open for today, and you need to finish it this page at home by yourself. Is design. Can you see design? I can't see design. What is that? Oh yeah, so here, one last thing that I want to show you. If we go to, don't save. If we go to our examples, here we have our navigation, and this navigation, yeah, so this is what we just discussed about UL, etc. So if I uncomment, hit tab, we have a navigation. If here's a cart example. Actually, it's so wide. Give a sec, let me try to decrease the. It is pretty wide. Okay. So we have a can you read it? Or should I increase the layout? Okay, yeah, we'll scroll. So we have a card, div with class card. Inside this card, we have first group, where is a card image. And actually, let me show you the example. So inside card, inside card, we have image wrapper and we have some details, right? So here we have image wrapper where we have image inside this wrapper. Yep. And we have a sibling, which is div card details. Inside these details, I have h4, which is this one. I have h5, and I have h3. For some reason, yeah, give a sec. Okay, this is not the same card. Oh, sorry. Yeah, but the idea is that here we have we have image, we have some details, we have title, subtitle, and the price. And with tab, we have the basic card. The same for list of cards. Sounds like house of cards. We have cards. We have each card basically with details, and we wrap all of that, multiply 5. So we create 5 cards that easy. So you don't need to copy paste and you just hit tab and you have 5 cards. Yep. So you will have it, actually you have it in our Git repository as an example to this lesson. So you can check that what is the syntax and look at it home.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Do the class names not need to be different?
What do you mean?
So if you want to reference one of them rather than referencing them all because they've all got the same name.
So why do you want to reference different names, different classes for cards?
I don't know, I'm just asking a question.
So normally you don't want to because you have identical cards,
Okay, fine.
right? I mean, just from my experience.
I'm just asking a question because I mean, if normally you wouldn't have
Yeah.
something, multiple classes named the same thing.
Yeah, so you can just, when you hit tab, you can just add some classes. But eventually you don't want to have it because if you create, they are identical. Each card is the same. They have different values, but each card is the same. And actually that is why React or Vue or Angular is so popular, because they allows you to create that kind of components that you can reuse by populating different data. And here we're just doing it manually, but the idea is this, like 99% that you never want to add some additional class. Sometimes, maybe, but it's rare case. Okay, yeah, let's build the project that we planned. Give me a second, please. I'll open. So courses.
Could you do that with that dollar variable so that it would say card 1? And then
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you can do stuff like if you have div, right? Class underscore dollar multiply 6. You can do that. So dollar is basically like multiplier. Not multiply, yeah, the thing that you multiply. So yeah, you can do that. Okay, let's actually start build something. So I'm not sure that, can you check, do you have this design in your files in our Git repository? Because I can't find it. Maybe I'm missing something. If I go here, curricula, static frontend, lesson 4, this main page. So we have all assets, but we don't have design. Yeah, we don't have design. Okay, I'll export and give me a second, I'll export it. So that should be responsive as well. And from the next lesson, we will cover Flexbox. And finally, we can play with Flexbox and build the page with Flexbox. And after Flexbox, we will have CSS Grid. So the next page, we will build the second from today. We will build with CSS Grid. Okay, so let's start from desktop. I want to export design desktop tablet and mobile. Okay. This is weird, but so yeah, I'll push it today after the lesson. I'll push to our GitHub so you can pull the changes or download it. So we have a desktop. Let's actually wireframe it together. And I'll recommend you actually to wireframe it at home before you start building your HTML. So, but for now, I do it in Photoshop. I know, I prefer Photoshop. So, tell me, how do we, let's actually, we have two sections, navigation and main one. How do we want to do that? How do we want to group elements? So let's start, normally I'm doing that in the way that I start from the top level and going to the lowest level. So here, what elements we have on the top level?
Logo.
Icons.
Is it the top level? Is it the one element, or we have two elements?
So you have one container containing two.
Yeah, maybe. So we still have these two are separate, right?
Yeah.
So we want to group them. Let me select rectangle, fill with nothing, stroke with blue, let's see. So first one is this and that one. You don't need to be very precise, because it just, so 1 pixel, probably 2, small 3 pixels, yeah. Okay, so next step is, what do we want to group? So we have the first element here, we want to group also our elements. How do we want to group them?
I would say you'd have three elements in that part.
Yeah, so okay, we can group them. So the first element in the group is this one, right? So I want to change the color. Next one is this, right? List. And the last one is these three. Yep. Okay. Next up, basically we finished with navigation. So next stop is, main section. Here, how do we want to separate all elements?
Three main elements, I would say.
How? This one? Okay, so this one, like this, and this. Okay, so this is the first issue. Imagine that now you want to put these basically two side by side, but this one should go in a column, right? As a column. So we're basically changing direction. So here we change in direction to horizontal flow. So we want to have a group these two in a separate container. And then you can easily put them in as a column. Right?
Can you just have that one in one in its own?
This one. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. We need to, if I remove these two, I'm selecting both of them. And inside, I'm selecting this one with, let's say, green probably, and this one. So now you understand that even with your CSS skills, you can easily put them on the right position because you have a right structure. So you have one section, so side by side, easy, right? Just float or whatever, or display inline and set the width, inline block. And here you have just two block elements. This is it. You'll spend like a few minutes to do that. Okay. So yeah, do we want to have anything here? What?
You'd have one.
This?
No. So you'd have one around all of them.
Okay.
And then create three individuals inside that.
Okay. Yeah. So we want to have this one, right? Why? Yeah.
wireframe or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. So you want to move them together to put on certain position. That is why you group in them. It will be a mess if you try to move each separately. And when you start building some responsiveness, you will struggle a lot because each element will behave in different way and you try to catch all of them. That is why you're grouping them in one container. And here, so this looks like H1 or H2, something like that. So this is by default, it is a block element. So you don't need to wrap it. This one, again, that might be H6, H5, maybe P, even P. They are still block elements. So you don't need to wrap it if you don't want to separately move. But this one is button on or anchor, and that means that this is inline element. So you want to have an extra wrapper for it because this is inline element, and you want to have to reserve this space for it, right? So something like that. Blue. Okay. And here we also have like one text, right? Which is probably, we don't want to wrap because this is one text, so this is H1 or H3. And the only one that we want to select, because that looks like button. We want to wrap it into the div, because if it's button inline, we want to wrap it. Yep. So we can build it quickly with Emmet. So let's actually start with that. Let me just move here, open my index, remove this one. So we have, first of all, we have two elements, right? We have navigation and we have main. So I'm just creating empty parentheses for now. So we have navigation. Inside my navigation, I have three groups. So I want to have plus, like that, right? First one is div with logo wrapper. And inside there, we have image. Yeah. On the second one,
List.
yeah, correct. So we have a list, which is now list. And inside, we have li, right? How many? 4. So, and inside, because it's clickable, we want to have anchors inside. And we have multiply 4. Yeah? So, yeah. So we use curlies to put some text. So we have item space $. Yeah? And the third group is some icons, extra navigation. The hardest thing is to find the right name, right? Class name, variable name, this is the hardest part of programming. Find the right way, descriptive.
This is also a list, right?
Yes, yes. So we have UL. Some extra now. No. Let's say, and here we have, again, we have li. Inside li, we have anchor and we have icons. So we have image inside each. Yep. And multiply 3. Let me close this. Okay. So we have a navigation. 2 minutes. Yeah. Next step. Div. Or actually, let's be semantic. And we have which tag? For, sorry? No. So I'm creating the next section, which is like a main section. We have main. Main. HTML5. So yeah, main. Inside main, as we mark up, we have two elements, right? So one is like class name, any ideas? We can go with the way like left and right, but this is silly because on the one day, on the like a half a year later, the designer will come to you and say that, can we swap them? And you said, easy, just swap them. And the next developer, 6 months later, will come and say, okay, I need to change the left element, which is now already right one. But he didn't know that. He will try to fix it and like, what is happening? So don't use class names and actually variable names for JavaScript or any programming language just by like where it is, like left, right, etc. Use the descriptive name of what it does. Not what it does, but what's. So this is for JavaScript, what it does. But for HTML is like what is about. So you need to be descriptive. Sorry? New collection, maybe? Well, the other? Sharp. Shop. Okay, shop.
Shop main shop.
New collection. Left, right. Okay, yeah. So let's say so we have div. New collections. Collection. 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 So we have collection. Let me actually wrap it into parentheses, right? Plus we will have the second section. So collection. Inside the collection we have h1, h4. So h1 plus h4 plus div, which is CTA, which stands for call to action. Yep, call to action. And we have, let's say we have anchor, which Google doesn't recommend because it's not very, so when you imitate buttons, it's better to use buttons because they have tab index. So with tab you can jump between them, but let's use anchor for now. So we have anchor, what was that? Shop now. We have shop now, right?
Don't we need one more div for the main? The main is a one.
Main is a div, basically.
Yes, and you make a div for collection, but when we return back to the design, I think we separate it.
Oh, yeah. Good spot. Correct. So here we want to group all of them into collection content. Div collection content. Yep. And inside we want to have all of that. Yeah, good spot. Thanks. Okay. To have div with trending. So if the left one is collection, so that might be trending. Pretty descriptive. Trending. And here we have two divs, one for image. So we have trending image, and there we have image. Yeah. And plus we have a sibling with div trending details. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Div trending content. Yeah. Sorry. Content, and there we have h2, because on the page you can have, like semantically, you can have only one h1. So you can have 20 of them, but semantically you want to have only one main text. So one h1. So we use h2. Plus we have our button, right? So we have div, again CTA, and inside we have anchor. Yeah? With text more. So you can easily lose yourself in these parentheses. But that is why when you start writing your emmet string, you want to create these parentheses straight away. So you have two sections, empty parentheses between, so plus empty parentheses, so you create in groups. Start writing a nested groups inside, again, empty parentheses plus between them, so you never lose yourself in all these brackets.
Is there a reason why you use two underscores after training?
Oh, yeah, no. So this is my way of creating classes. So if I have two words for class, like big dog, and I use one underscore because this is one class. But if I have big dog head, which is nested element, I use double underscore because it's nested. So when I see my class big dog head, I understand with two underscores, I understand that this head element is a child of big dog. So two underscores for nested elements, one underscore for class with two words or three words or whatever. If you have class with one word, you just have one word. So here we have collection, and the nested one is collection underscore underscore content. This is the idea. This is just my way of creating classes. There is no convention. So that's it. We have everything we need. Yep. Emmet, wireframes. Welcome to the new world. And now we can easily, so actually let's start with logo and etc. So we have images and logo. Here we want to have logo. We have text. For anchors, we will have only anchors because it's just dummy thing. Give me a sec. I need to move everything to new lines. Sorry, give me a second. So I want to have proper nesting. Here we have the first element is search. Yep. Why do we use alt text? Remind me, please. Yes. And search engines. And the last thing. Yeah, yes, it's screen readers. We don't want to be fined by US states, right? Government, because they fine for that. People. They. Yeah. So search, next one is user probably. Yep, user PNG. Thank you, designer, for naming properly every single file. Yeah, user icon. Here, search icon. Here we have image, which is bag. Bag, shopping bag. Shopping bag icon. Beautiful. Here we have some new collection. Here some online and in store. Online and in store. Store. And trending this summer. So see that we still want to add that we forgot, because here we have a different color, So we want to have a span for them. So we're still adjusting our HTML, but it's nothing comparing with what we did before. Yep. And this is it. So we have everything we need. And actually, where's my index? I'll open it. Sorry, wrong one. So open. Yep. Probably the wrong logo. This one. Yep. We have everything. This is our navigation and main section. We have white images. And now we can style it. Style everything. So now you can forget about your HTML and start create styles. Right. Okay, do you want to have like 3 minutes break or something? Like water, grab a water? No? Yeah? Okay, yeah. 3 minutes break. How many of you are joining our JavaScript course? Yeah. Does anyone plan to join our Node course? We're not announced yet, but we will run Node.js straight after JavaScript. Yeah, and hopefully after we finish the first cohort with Node.js, we will fit everything into 1.5 months. So like Monday HTML, Tuesday JavaScript. It's not for you, probably it's not relevant for you because you'll just finish by then, but we want to fit everything like in 1.5 months. You will cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Node. We're also planning to add SAS, so preprocessor for CSS, React, etc., like, and fit it again into like two months course. So you can come to us, take all classes, graduate, and find a job. Yeah. And I'm thinking about Saturdays, some like hackathon Saturdays during the course, but we will see that in future. Yeah. Okay, so you might notice that we don't really care about pixel perfect here, because the idea of this course is to teach you how to position in elements, how to put on the right place, how to build proper structures, etc. So if you don't create a pixel perfect thing, just don't care on that point. Okay, so let's start from the navigation. So we have navigation. And actually, what I want to recommend you, each section in the CSS separate with a comment. So let's say navigation. It will simplify your search in future. So navigation, you have some separators. That's it. And here you will have all your classes related to navigation. So navigation, let's say height, actually min height. You probably, the difference is obvious, but why do we use min height, not height? So the height, yeah, but why we care about, we don't want to have fixed height, but we want to set only min height.
If you're on a bigger screen,
No. So we've set in min height. The idea is that when you start to resize your screen, you on some point you want to have hamburger menu, right? And if you have a fixed height, you can't change your content will be hidden. And you want with min height, when you have a hamburger, you click and add some elements, the height will increase automatically.
doesn't that come when you declare it though as a screen size?
What do you mean? No. So that comes, so you just need to define the height. Or what do you ask?
So when you do app media screen,
Yeah.
isn't that when you declare whether you have a burger and at what size?
Yeah, you can, yes,
Therefore,
yes.
Your height could be
Yeah.
min height or height because you're declaring it in a different.
So you can redefine it for each width for responsiveness. But why do you need to redefine it that many times if you can just use min height? Just save characters. This is bytes. Your space. Speed. Just kidding, but because it's too small. But yeah, we are lazy to type. That is why we have Emmet. That is why we try to simplify everything, because we don't like. Nobody likes to be a developer. Nobody likes coding. We hate it. That is why we simplify every single piece of our work and try to automate. With that lazy, that will handle work for us. Keep that in mind. Okay, so min height, let's say 100 pixels for now. And background color, which is, what is the hex number for black?
Yes.
0, 30 or 60, but because they are identical, you can have 30. Too big. This is because we have min height, so we have everything. But when we put all of them in the row, we will get our height back. So let's say here we have logo wrapper. So display inline block, right? And we also have navigation list, and we also have extra navigation. Yep, so we have them in one row. Also, we want to put them into different sides. So we have one here, one on the left or right, and one in the middle. So let me actually set that extra navigation, which is our icons. We want to have float right. Yes. And logo wrapper float left. Yep. Now we have the issue with height of our navigation. So how to fix this? No, we've discussed that. That was a question on the beginning of the lesson. Overflow auto. Yep. Okay. So they are too close to the edges. So we want to have some padding for our navigation. So let's say padding like 1M all around. Beautiful. We have some spacing. Maybe even left and right, we want to have 2 M's. So top and bottom 1 M, left and right 2 M's. Yep. Okay. Next up is our navigation list. So we want to remove this list style, none, padding, default padding, 0, margin 0, and elements inside, allies, we want to have display inline block to put them in one row, right? So if I refresh, they are in one row. This is so painful. Because really, with Flexbox, it's so easy to put in the right. With Flexbox, 2 commands, you have everything aligned in the right position. You align like to put 3 elements on the right position with like center, left, center, and right. You just justify content space between. And vertically, to align vertically, align items center. That's it. But you still need to know how people handle that 3,000 years ago. So, yeah. Okay, so here we want to change color. So FFF for white, and we have the underlines. How to remove them? Text decoration. Text decoration, none. Yep. Okay. So the last thing is that we want to have the same stuff for our images. So for this one, li display inline block. Yep. Beautiful. So next step is that I want to align my list into the center. And this is the most painful part. Because here, sorry? No, we don't have such property, unfortunately. So yeah, navigation list. What we can do is position absolute, top 50%, left 50%, and we want, because we have position absolute here for our parent, we want to have position relative. Autocomplete, spoiling. Yeah, but still it shifts a bit because we have 50% and 50%. So if I inspect our element, the whole list, oh, you probably can't see it. But yeah, it is shifted because it starts from the 50% top and 50% left. To fix this, you probably already know because you had lesson 2. So to fix this, you have transform, right? Do you remember that? Translate minus 50% minus 50%. Yep. Center. Yoo-hoo! So now we want to fix like font height, let's say font size to like 2 ems. Maybe too big, 1.5. You want to have some, so if I inspect, we probably want to have, because we have underscore, so we want to have some padding like 0.5 em around each element, and we want to have some margins, right, between them. So let's say margin, we don't want to have top and bottom, but we want to have left and right. M. Yep. Have them. So the last problem is, come on, almost last, not the last, but this element. So this div. And actually, that is why you want to have a wrapper. Because what you can do for your logo, wrapper is height 100%. Is it height 100%? No. All right, because we don't have a height for it. Okay. We can fix it. We have so as you can see, height 100% doesn't work, and this is because we basically asking set height 100% of the parent height, but we haven't specified parent height. We've specified min height, but not height. So maybe we want to have for the parent, we want to have a height. And now we have the height, right? And we have some weights. We probably want to set some weights, like, I don't know. Let's say we have our logo and we know that the size of this image should be like, I don't know, 60 pixels. So this is our container. And how to position to the center our image? We just did it. Just did it. So yeah, position absolute top 50, left 50, right? Woo! Yeah, how to fix it? Yes. So the parent position relative. Yep. And now we can fix transform translate. Translate minus 50% minus 50%. Yeah. And that is why you want to have a separate wrapper for your image, because now you can play with your image inside the element that is on the right position. If you don't have, you will manually try to catch relatively to the whole navigation, and that will be painful because you will probably define like, okay, I want to have 50 pixels left and maybe 20 pixels from the top or whatever. So you just have a wrapper and inside you can play and do whatever you want. So have an image, wrap it into the separate div. And I can give you a perfect class name, image wrapper. Just use it. No copyrights. Okay, yeah, and the last bit is basically this one. Again, we have by default, because this is UL, we have the padding margin, etc. So for our extra navigation, here we want to have list style, none, padding 0, margin 0. Yep. Actually, I'm just thinking that I might show you one more trick. So yeah, let's finish with the navigation. So navigation, height 100% again. And actually does the vertical align. Give a sec. No, yeah, doesn't work. Beautiful, as usual. Yeah, so here we have our UL. We want to, for each align inside, height 100%. And for each element inside, for each anchor, we want to set display inline block, where we will set height 100%. And now with our images, we will the same game. Position, so for the anchor position, sorry, yeah. Position relative, and for anchor images inside, image position absolute, yep, top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate, minus 50% and minus 50%. Beautiful. So what happened? Oh, right, we don't have widths. We need to specify widths. Because we're removing our images from the normal flow, we need to specify widths for each element. So width 50%, 50 pixels. Yep. And we have a navigation. And maybe you want to have this nice underline. And actually, as you can see by our design, our underline takes like 30% of the word. Yeah. How we can do that? Based on your experience with the last project, we have pseudo elements. Pseudo elements after or before, but yeah, after in that case. So we have our navigation list li, and here I have after. I'm creating fake element. So content, you should have content, just a reminder. Even if it's empty, you should have it. Display block, position absolute. So sorry, bottom 0, right? Left 0, because you want to align to the bottom left. Height, let's say 3 pixels. Width 30%. Background color white. And again, because this one is position absolute, the parent should be position relative. Yeah. And as you can see, we have this gap. This is because we have padding left and right. Yes. So we want to move our padding. Actually, sorry. Top and bottom is fine, but left and right. So we can increase our margin here to 1em, right? For allies. Yep. And actually, we don't want to have for all of them. We want to have for the selected one or active. So for this page, I'll set that class active. And here, I'm looking for element for anchor with class active and create a fake our pseudo element after. So we have for the first one, right? Power of pseudo elements.
You wanted to have this appear only when a person has a mouse hovering over it.
Yeah.
That's something we can do with CSS.
Sure. So we can add.
Hover and
Yeah, let's do that. So we have active, right? We have width. I'll set to 0. Yeah. And if I active hover after width 30%, let's 40%, right? And we want to have some animation transition. Fancy. Yeah.
if we remove the active, then this would be true for all of them, right?
Yes. Sorry, give a sec. Yeah, because we don't have it. Woohoo! Sexy navigation. Yep. And even more fun. So this is super advanced. And I bet that when you ask experienced developers, front-end developers about that, they will never guess why it is important. So here we change in width, right? Width 0, width 30%. And when you're rendering your page, you have 3 stages of rendering. First, you're rendering your elements. Like basically, this is the heaviest part of rendering. You render all your elements. And width and height is setting on that stage. So your FPS, frames per second, will be lower and unstable for your animation. To improve that, you want to use still the same 30% as 40%, sorry, 40% for the width. So width is not changing, right? You have it. But for your anchor, you set overflow hidden, and you just moving translate, transform, translate. So minus 100% horizontally, and you don't want to change it vertically. So it's hidden. It is outside, right? Sorry, give a sec. Yeah, correct. You want to have overflow for your li. Yeah, you can see it. So you have your elements, but you can see them. And on hover, you will use just to 0. And transform, translate will apply on the second stage of rendering, which is not that heavy, and your FPS will be stable and high, and your animation will be super smooth. And you can't notice that on this example because it's very simple animation. Sorry. So let me just check that. When I hover on the element, transform, translate. Just double check. Yeah, beautiful. I didn't reload the page. Ooh. Oh, right. Minus 100%, because I want to put it up. Because now we're outside. Right? No? Give a sec. Oh, right. So the height is different. See? It's not inheriting the height, which is bad. So we want to have height padding for this one as well. Give a sec. Padding. Where's our li? 1m0. Yeah, and I want to get rid of my 0. Yep. So, and I believe minus 101%. So here you can't see the difference. But if you have a huge animation, you will see that it is lagging. But if you use this one at the transition, it will be much smoother. And even one more thing, if you have a super heavy animation, you can use for our animation, where is it? Transform. Will change property, which will use your GPU, graphic card, to run your animation. Transition. Yeah. And you will have like 60 FPS constantly for your animation. And actually, I got to that point when I started building. I translate the whole screens with on React application, and I need to move with them smooth, very smooth. That should be like insanely smooth, like you know, that jelly effect. And I've done it with like positioning. I had the issue with FPS. I started Googling. I found that transition. Okay, I've added transition. That was smoother, but still I had like 60 FPS, and on some point it was like 47, or this. It was visible. And I've added will change, and that became super smooth.
Will change is only used to use the GPU?
Yeah.
You can say which element.
Yeah. Which property you want to animate with will change. So transition in our case. Because we change in transition.
Is there any reason not to use will change?
You probably not always want to use your GPU for rendering page. Because that will be suspicious when somebody visits your website and on that point fan will turn on, the machine will be hot. Maybe you're mining something, some cryptocurrency. So yeah, this is super advanced thing, and I bet that like 1% of developers will know about that such things.
So, like you said, you had screen whatever, but in what circumstance would you use that?
When you have a heavy, huge animation.
I mean, yeah, from that perspective, but you know, like the fellow over there said, why don't you use it all the time? Do you mean in what?
Yeah, because you will activate graphic card.
Yeah.
That will.
So in what instance would you want to activate the graphic card? I know you said yeah because you want the animation to be smooth when it's heavy, but if you're not going to use that all the time, in what instance would you use it? So under what circumstance?
Only when you have a heavy graphic. Because I'll show you that what I did actually. What that was the reason. GitHub.
Or okay, what sort of website would you use it? So if I went to a Nike website or went to this website, I'm confused as to under what circumstance you use it. Because you're saying when you've got heavy graphic. You're always going to have heavy graphics if it's on your website.
If you have.
You can't use it all the time.
Oh no. So I mean that if you don't have a heavy graphic, heavy animation, you don't want to use will change.
So you don't want to have it as a
at all.
Yeah.
So you just don't.
I'm just chuck it in there for
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, give a sec. The lesson that I want to show you today is just Alex K. I just want to show you what was that. The animation. Some game. That was game. Quiz game. Yeah, quiz game. Download zip. And you'll understand what is heavy graphic is. Where is the starting point, I would say, of heavy graphic. Oh, this one. So CD. And quiz game. Yeah, npm install. Give it a second. So I'm installing, this is React app. It requires npm packages and like a lot of stuff to be installed. Okay, almost. Come on. Oh my gosh, so slow. Yep. Yeah, while we're installing this one, I want to ask you to follow our ceremony that we have for each lesson, which is to fill the feedback form. Almost. Give a sec. So please spend 2 minutes to fill it while we installing. Oh, come on, this is so slow. Brilliant. So I'm not sure that it will be visible here how smooth it is. No, it doesn't. Sorry. But on the laptop, you can see that this is super smooth and the transition is like FPS is stable. Yeah. Projector and Wi-Fi doesn't allow us to see that. Yeah. Anyway, was a good chance to test it. And quiz see rm minus rf quiz. Now it will spend. Okay, that was quick. Yeah. So any questions? Any questions? No? Yeah, so I will share it. I will share all these slides in our Slack channel. And yeah, so next up will be HTML CSS Advanced, where we will have our flexbox finally. And you will see how easy is everything, how positioning is easy. And on the lesson 6, we will have CSS grid, which is even much more easier because the CSS grid is 2-dimensional, so you can build a nice complicated layouts and grids very easily without any floats, etc.
We didn't cover any frameworks.
No, because you don't need actually frameworks.
If you know what you're doing.
Yes. So the idea is that every single company, you might heard about Bootstrap, Material, a lot of frameworks. Not frameworks, but libraries. But the idea is that every single company, they develop their own library. So they don't normally use external libraries. If you're a startup or if you just need to quickly build some landing page, you might use like Bootstrap or whatever. But to be honest, you can do that if you know CSS enough. You can build without framework much quicker, because with your own CSS, you can be very flexible. With the libraries, you can add like your navigation menu in 2 minutes, but spend next day to add one more element inside this navigation and position into the right position. Move it to the right position. So libraries is nice for some very basic layouts, but if you want to customize it, it's better to write your CSS. Yeah. So only 3 lessons left, and on the final we will build our own. We will build together a page, one more page.
So the GitHub is updated with the files of the project you just showed us?
Yeah, I believe so. If not, I will do it today for sure. Yeah, and after that, we probably don't have seats for JavaScript course, but so I mean, if for people who didn't sign up, I think that we don't have enough. So yeah, forget about JavaScript for new people. Yeah, this is it. Thank you for coming today. It's been late, so thanks, and hope to see you on the next lesson.
Thank you.
Thanks.